Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
Bro, we got a real list today. We got a real list of talking points. What are you sipping on? Turkish coffee?
Turkish coffee, man. Turkish coffee. Caffeine.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a good guess. That was a very good guess.
It's a good guess because you already told me. Do you have any kind of like spam filter on your emails? I get so much cold selling like crap email these days. Do you have any like, I know you have your assistant in your inbox, but does she just delete everything or do you guys have some kind of strategy?
It's a really good question that you'd literally have to ask her because I have no idea. I'm sure like she's very organized. She when I was managing the inbox, it was like an atom bomb going off every single day when I opened it, which is why I had such bad anxiety. But when I see it now, like she's got tabs on tabs on tabs on tabs, and she organizes it super well. I don't know how she does it, but she's got systems in place, and I don't know how. But I do know, like, actually, I was on someone's podcast, and then they fucking put me on their email list, just like you've been talking about recently, which is really obnoxious.
It's a real strategy.
Yeah, it's a horrible strategy is what it's a losing strategy is what it is.
But a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is, but no, I have no clue. Why? Do you have systems in place to deal with the spam?
I got no systems, but I get so many on all of my email addresses, so much cold selling and just not even spam, like actual people reaching out who are probably emailing hundreds or thousands of people a day. And it used to be bad, but it's just gotten worse.
Which probably isn't good for email marketing because people are just tired of getting so much spam. It's just like click, 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 delete, delete, delete. That's why you got to make your emails super good.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder and harder.
Yep.
I'm getting a lot of text spam. I get text spam every day.
Yeah. Same.
Every day I get text spam. Delete, report as junk.
Pay your outstanding toll by tomorrow or you're going to jail.
Yeah. A lot of spam, a lot of junk out there.
Do you have any thoughts? Because I feel like the average content creator does a horrible job of this. And I think you do a good job, like a well above average job. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on the subject of not letting feedback from your audience corrupt or like change your message over time.
Anxiety medication helps a lot with that. I actually think that a lot of that was someone asked me recently, I forget when I spoke about this. Like in 2020, I was doing therapy because I was so anxious. Or maybe we spoke about this on a podcast or something.
Yeah, we did.
2020 was super anxious around like the George Floyd, BLM, getting inundated with people. Why are you saying this? Why aren't you saying this? And like, no matter what I put out, I was just getting DMs. And so there was that. And that was like the peak worst. But then after October 7th, I was putting stuff out and like got maybe even potentially worse than 2020. But it was something that was so near and dear to me and my family's there. And I have friends who are like involved in it to the point where I was like, I don't care what happens, what people say. Like I'm going to like my business isn't even worth as much as me talking about this. Right. So like I'm willing to go all in. And I actually think that was a certain level of exposure therapy that helped me a lot in terms of, I got met with the worst of the worst of the worst that you could possibly get met with. And I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still, it's not an issue. So I do think going through it was the most impactful thing where you have to walk through the fire and you have to like take the blows, take the hits. I think that you probably have to analyze what you're doing it for. I think a lot of people's main goal is go viral, get views, get likes. That's like their goal. And when that's your goal, it's easy to change your stance. It's easy to change your morals and your ethics and your practices because your goal is essentially to get as big as possible, make as much money as possible. So whatever you have to do to get there, it's worth it. Whereas if your goal is help people with the truth as much as possible, then all of a sudden, like, that is your barrier that will prevent you from making poor or mitigate the risk of making poor decisions, regardless of what people say, regardless of the response, regardless of what other people are doing. So probably keeping your ethos at the forefront of your mind, and letting that be your guiding light is probably the best answer I can come up with.
I like it. Good. Trial by fire.
I mean, like with everything, you just got to do it. But I mean, I also take anxiety medications. So I think that also helps.
I also see it not just related to contentious issues, but around like positions on issues within the fitness space, right? You'll see people say stuff that they don't necessarily believe because it's popular, or because they know it'll get a positive response, or because the opposite of that is very unpopular and they don't want negative backlash, even if it's a hard pill to swallow. Anyway, it's interesting. It's an interesting balance between saying what you believe to be true versus saying what you think will get a good response from your audience, right? Because it depends on who and what type of person has ended up following you over the years, because one message can hit with a different audience, but if that's not your audience, that's what I mean by, like, slowly you can see feedback from certain audiences change the message of a creator, which is just an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, especially in those more extreme camps, right? Where it's like you say you could have someone who maybe started out as more moderate, but then they start saying something a little bit more extreme, and they get some feedback, they get some good feedback, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm just going to go deeper into this. I'm going to go deeper into this.
Water's poisonous.
Yeah, water's poisonous.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you get that good feedback, it's easy to convince yourself that any bad feedback are just haters. So then you're like, I'm only going to make this content for the people who are giving me good feedback, which is also dangerous. It's also interesting in reverse, because it's what you say. You're talking about, I'm like jumbling my words, but you're talking about, it's what you say, but there's also an issue of what people don't say. Out of maybe they're changing what they believe, but maybe they're just not saying what they believe at all.
Well,
so it's like almost like the lie of omission, where it's like, I'm just not going to tell you at all because I don't want to ruffle feathers. Like, I don't want to say anything, not because I don't believe it, but because I'm worried about the negative feedback as a result of it, which that also, whether we're talking about fitness stuff or political stuff or whatever, the staying silent, I don't think it's good for the individual, and it's definitely not good for society as a whole, because when you stay silent and your views are often likely the majority, but when the majority stays silent, and that vocal minority gets even louder and louder and louder, and that's how those crazy views can really start to permeate the culture, permeate people's mind, and think that this is what the majority of people actually think.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do think lie of omission is the most common in this situation, especially because most people are on the internet to run a business. And so, like, technically any opinion that you have that you're not putting out publicly is a lie of omission.
Correct.
And that's a pretty crazy standard to hold a human being to.
There's a guy who asks me in every Q&A, every single Q&A, a guy asks me, should the U.S. apologize to Japan for dropping the atom bombs? And I don't answer it publicly. Every single time. I'm like, motherfucker, dude. Like,
you're like,
that's a loaded question, bro. Like,
yeah.
That's a really loaded, and we could go into the history and all of that, but I'm like, I don't want to touch that fucking question right now.
It's also, and this truly isn't a cop-out, like, respectfully to you, I'm not going to you for that answer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who I would go
not going to a fitness professional for that. Yeah.
So the expectation, by the way, it's kind of funny that the same guy asks that same question every time.
Every single Q&A, literally every one. And like
Have you
I
ever
respect
have you
uh,
replied to him on the side, like in a DM, and been like,
this
bro,
morning. This morning
really?
I found this morning I found that's why it was top of mind because I just maybe 10 minutes ago because I put up a Q&A and I said, "Hey man, I see that you write this every single time and I appreciate and respect that you're watching my stories and doing this." And I was like, "I don't answer it publicly because no matter what I say, I'm going to get insane backlash and I quite frankly I just don't want to deal with that right now." But I did give him my response a relatively brief response to what I think to what is a very difficult question. So
Yeah.
just so he could stop fucking asking me, because every time I open up the damn Q&A, he's like one of the first ones
Does it stress
every
you out?
single time. It does because I want to answer, like I want to have the
Mm.
conversation,
Hmm.
but even just writing out an answer, like you can't. It's not a yes or no. That's not a yes or no. Like you got to really go in nuance and you got to look at what's happening on both sides and look at what the potential of what was happening, what could have happened if it wasn't dropped. And there's just so much to discuss. So it's not a simple yes or no. So yeah, I just want him to stop asking me. So I just gave him my, my like brief nuanced answer.
Let's fire up some questions.
Oh, you know what? I want to get your opinion on something. A dude asked me the other day, let me read you his question. Because I got some people who were really happy about it, some people who were not happy about it. A dude asked me, he said, "What is the best fitness test for a 40-year-old dad of 4?" And so I said, I'm going to make up some benchmarks to shoot for off the top of my head for like what would be like good fitness tests, like good benchmarks for what a 40-year-old dad of 4. So I did this for a dude and I did this for women as well. So the first 4 were all health markers. I was like blood pressure 120 over 80 or under, resting heart rate under 65 beats per minute, LDL cholesterol under 100, HDL over 60. So those were the first 4. Not controversial, really. One person who was like, ApoB is more important than cholesterol. I was like, yeah, okay, I agree. But we're just going with this basic one. Anyway, then I went a mile run under 8 minutes. So run a mile under 8. Max deadlift, 2.5 times body weight. Max chin up, 10 plus. Max push up, 40 plus. Max squat, 1.5x body weight. And then touch your toes with your legs straight. That's what I put for men. We'll go through that first. Let's just ignore the health markers, go to purely the performance markers. Agree, disagree on 40-year-old data for. This is for a high level. This isn't what everyone should be at, but this would be like a very high level fitness for 40-year-old data for. Do you think it's a good benchmark to shoot for?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good.
Agree, disagree? What do you think?
I think it's hard to make these generic rather than specific to an individual's goal and interests.
Yep.
I think as far as generic goes, you have a nice combination of like, strength, flexibility, aerobic. Yeah. The
Cool.
numbers seem solid.
Okay, so for a 40-year-old woman, same health stuff, but then I have mile run under 9.5 minutes, max deadlift 1.7 times 5 body weight, max chin up 3 or more, max push up 15 or more, max squat 1.25 times body weight, and then also touch your toes with your legs straight.
I think,
again, these are goals to shoot for, not like not what every mom at 40 years old needs to do, but this would be a very high level elite fitness for that person.
yeah, I think you're showing your
powerlifting.
I'm into it. Exactly. Like you're showing 100%. Your powerlifting background there. I think those are slightly harder targets relative to the other targets.
Yep, I agree.
Especially if someone doesn't have a history of doing a ton of barbell training or just has never been interested in like, getting the heaviest big 3 they can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's a solid list.
I agree.
What was the feedback?
Overall feedback was really good. I got maybe 94% of people, both men and women, being like, screenshotting this. This is amazing. Da da da. There was one person who was really upset There's a woman who was really upset at the women's one. Basically, like she said, she's like, I'm well over 200 pounds, and there's no way I could ever do these. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, being heavier makes literally all of these possible.
You're smart.
What do you mean I'm smart?
I just realized you didn't put, I mean, I guess it's all performance, that's why, but you didn't put any kind of like body comp metric in there.
No.
It's just built in through relative strength.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was like, I bet because she was relatively short, she had a very high body fat percentage. And she was like, there's no way I could hit these. I was like, I know. Like, and as your body fat and body comp improves, you would be able to hit these or get much closer to them at least. But like, she got really upset that like it was based on body weight. I was like, that's by design, and you're going to. She didn't answer, but I was like, how's your cholesterol? How's your blood pressure? And like there was no answer. I'm like, okay, well those would probably also improve if you lost body fat as well. So yeah, that was like one of the louder people who were upset, but the vast majority really liked it.
Yeah, and that's like I understand why she was upset, even if she's in the wrong.
Yeah, I fully understand. Yeah, because I'm a bigot and discriminatory again.
No. I mean, her feelings were hurt, and she. Yeah.
But also, there's still a huge movement of people saying you could be whatever size and it doesn't matter. So to then hear someone else, maybe she sees those pieces of content saying it doesn't matter what size you are, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you see someone say, okay, well, we're going to bring that into the equation. And it can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was because the guy said 40-year-old father of 4, and then a woman said, all right, do the same thing for a woman 40-year-old. But then I got people being like, okay, now do it for a 56-year-old mother of 2. Do it like for a 33-year-old, no kids. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's not how specific we're getting right.
Yeah. Just generic adult, like,
yes,
adjust
shoot for these
based on age or, busyness and lifestyle.
Yes, you look. What would be the fitness test markers for a 43-year-old female? I said, 34-year-old. Yeah. I was like, people got very specific with it. Okay.
You never do that.
No, I don't.
I've never seen you go dyslexic.
Well, it was backwards in the camera.
Okay.
It was backwards. That's why I did that. Yeah.
I only say that because I do it all the time.
I went dyslexic.
I'm hyper aware of it. I'm constantly doing it when I'm reading. And I'm wondering if I did it my whole life and just didn't notice, or if I've just started doing it in the last 5 to 8 years.
Do you think you need glasses?
No, it's not no, my vision's good.
Oh, okay.
I went to the eye doctor 2 years ago, maybe. My vision's very good. It's like I don't even know what it is. It's not a vision thing. It's like some other kind of issue.
It's a dyslexic thing.
But I really do. When I'm reading, sometimes I'll pull a word from the line below the line that I'm reading into the sentence that I'm actually reading. Like, it's not good.
I'll do that if I'm multitasking. If I'm like trying to read and having a conversation with someone, I'll like mix up words. But if I'm just reading and concentrating, that doesn't happen. But if you're reading and concentrating, you'll still do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you got some dyslexia.
I got something. I really think, I mean, I'm not going to continue to harp on this and we'll move on to another question, but I think our digital environment is, I think it's causing a lot of people to, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now.
Cool.
It's causing a lot of issues. If you weren't aware that's my position.
Dude, you just did technology. The Kanye. You just did the Kanye. I'm not going to say who it is. He was Jewish.
No. That's not what I was doing.
I'm not going to go down this right now. It's causing a lot of issues.
Causing a lot of issues was my way of summarizing the
Got
deep
it.
rabbit hole I was going to go down, talking about overdiagnosis of ADHD and people who think they have ADHD, but really they're just show similar sets of symptoms because of abuse of technology and other lifestyle factors. I was going to go, now I'm doing it. I was going to go all the way down the rabbit hole. But when I said it's causing a lot of issues, I was just summarizing.
Yeah. There are so many like ADHD accounts now. Everyone now says they have ADHD.
Yep. I see a lot of it too.
It's a big thing. It's a really, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now.
I'm just uneducated, but yes, I think that we are overdiagnosed. I think the medical establishment is financially incentivized to overdiagnose all kinds of ailments that require lifetime prescriptions.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
And I think that is, yes, I think we're overdiagnosing ADHD.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that many people have it on some spectrum, but whatever. I mean, in 2021, there were 41 million prescriptions for Adderall in the United States. There's like 300 million people, 41 million prescriptions. It's crazy. It's math.
It's also been, I've seen a lot of people like, oh, I was finally diagnosed with this. Like, it makes so much sense. I've always had trouble concentrating and I've always like, been X, Y, and Z. I'm like, that's what it's like to be an adult or to be a human. Like we have trouble concentrating on certain things. Like, yeah, I'm neurodivergent. I'm like, are you just a regular human being who's struggling with regular human being things in today's day and age?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. And I also think a lot of people are looking to be a part of a group and to relate with other people. And so when they can then say, oh yeah, I'm part of that group, it makes it easier for them to, oh yeah, I struggle with this. I don't know. I think it's another aspect of, yes, 100%, the medical community or pharma, whatever you want to call it, being incentivized to make money off of this, to diagnose this, but then that also playing into people's own psychology of being, oh, I want to be a part of this group that struggles with this specific thing because then that justifies why I've been struggling with this, when in reality is like, it's just part of the human condition as well. And not to say that it doesn't exist, but it is absolutely being way overdone. And the number of accounts that I see are like the ADHD this or the neurodivergent this. I'm like, it's just feeding into people's belief that they are disabled and unable to do X, Y, and Z unless they have this literal meth. I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And it's not limited to ADHD. Like,
correct.
I'm not going to, yes, it's everything. Yeah. It's everything. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
I'm just waiting for you to say it. He was Jewish. It's one of the greatest clips of all time.
We see it anywhere where there is money to be made. We talked about food noise a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
And we know many, many people who are like, I have food noise. I have food. Like,
yeah,
give me
yeah,
people, I have food noise.
Correct.
People were anxious running from tiger. I know we talked about that in this episode. Like, I think everything is overdiagnosed. And I also think everyone should be, try it out and see what works for you. But
meth is going to make you more productive. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's the best part of that is when it's like, oh, this is how normal people feel all the time.
Nope.
No, it's not.
That's not how normal people feel all the time. Yeah, at all.
That's how people feel the first time they take a substance that increases dopamine production by 1,000%.
Correct.
Literally
not hyperbole.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Cold plunge, 250%, which is incredible, by the way. Cocaine's 500%. Nicotine is in like the 300% range. 1,000.
1,000. Yeah. This is what it's like to be normal and to not have to worry about staying focused. Like, nope. No, it's not.
But SSRIs too. Not as addictive, not as dangerous, but also overprescribed. The research now shows that for depression, exercise is as effective, if not more effective, than SSRIs.
Yep. And not to say that people don't need it. And not to say that, yeah, of course, yeah, just to do that whole
just to play defense
hedging
against
again.
anyone
Yeah.
who's offended. Listen to their first
Yeah.
episode.
But like, there's a difference between saying no one needs it and saying that it's overprescribed and way too quickly prescribed without discussing other options.
And by the way, I can't even comprehend the number of lives that have been saved by SSRIs, people who have severe depression, people who are suicidal. Like, yes, there are many, many, many benefits. Absolutely. But 45 million prescriptions in 2022 is a lot for a population of 320 million or whatever it is.
Do you see that?
Fitness test for a 42-year-old mom of 3, please.
Yeah. What do you think about hypnosis for weight loss?
I don't have an opinion.
I think that if it worked, people wouldn't be injecting themselves with GLP-1s. They would just go get hypnotized. So how about probably not the best idea, realistically.
Yeah, I don't know much about hypnosis. My understanding is that some people, a percentage of the population, are much more likely to or able to be hypnotized, and many people just aren't. And so for people who have a natural predisposition to being hypnotized, if that works for you, amazing.
I've never heard of that in my life. Not to say it's not real, but how the fuck do we know how many people can be hypnotized?
In my
how do you get hypnotized?
We had a hypnotist come for like
Shut
senior
up.
day in our high school in the auditorium.
Did someone actually get hypnotized?
Well, they tried on several people, and one person it really worked on.
No, it didn't, dude.
Yes,
That was a person faking it in the crowd.
I promise it wasn't.
Was it a boy or a girl that got hypnotized?
Are some people more able to be hypnotized
Where are you searching this?
than others? Google the OG. Because then I can
You're
see
going
the
to find
source.
a
not just
hypnotist come up.
It's not just,
who's going to be like, yeah, you need to get hypnotized.
It's Stanford medicine, brother. All right.
Go to Grok. I'm going.
Dude, you know what? I'm super down on X.
In a bad way?
After seeing just all the junk, politics and like nudity or
No, yeah, it's bad.
but not even nudity. Like it's like a tweet that says something about post them below or something, and you just know it's going to be replies of crap, and you block it. But then I'm pretty sure when you block it, X is like, okay, this person had a visceral reaction to this. We're going to give them more of this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't look on X. I just go to Grok. Just straight up go to Grok immediately. I'm a big fan of it, thanks to you.
Well, compared to ChatGPT, yeah. Yes, some people are naturally more susceptible to hypnosis than others. I understand the position of being desperate, having tried everything and not being able to make progress at something. And so if you want to give hypnosis a shot, cool. I hope it works.
Yeah. Okay. Is ab work overrated or underrated? Or no, actually, the way that they phrased it was, is ab work overrated or beneficial, which is one of the issues with people hearing overrated and underrated. They think overrated means non-beneficial. But let's just assume they worded this correctly. Is ab work overrated or underrated?
Properly rated.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to say underrated.
It was definitely underrated in 2012 when every single
that's true.
professional said,
you don't need to do it.
Yeah, all you need to do is squat and deadlift and you get your ab work from your heavy compounds. I feel like ab work is more popular now.
It is. It is for sure.
Yeah, I think it's properly rated.
Okay. Do you have a favorite ab exercise? I think I might be able to guess it.
Go ahead. I think you can guess it too.
Kneeling cable crunch.
No.
That's not your favorite ab exercise?
Mm-mm.
Oh, shit. Is it a dynamic or a static one?
Dynamic.
Okay.
It's still flexion. It's just
Is it
flexion
on a decline bench?
It's flexion that's targeting a different part of your abs.
Oh, hanging leg raise?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. You love hanging leg raises with those elbow straps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite ab exercise?
So it's... Man, I have a couple. Can I give a couple?
No, just one.
Just one. Okay.
Yeah, you can give a couple.
So I really, really like lateral bends right now. I'm like hanging laterally off a 45-degree extension, and I do lateral bend. I love those. not necessarily because of the core strength, but because of the QL stretch that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you get the oblique strength as well, but that QL stretch, oh my gosh, feels amazing. And then I would say,
I like that you're doing it on a 45-degree bend, because the standing side bend holding a weight when you're just standing vertically, like, makes
don't
so
feel it
much
very
less
much.
sense than, yeah.
yeah, you need to be really tight for that one to make sense. You got to have like very little mobility through there to make that make sense.
On that 45-degree though, start body weight,
Yeah.
start low volume, like,
Yep.
don't dive into low back strengthening stuff
Correct.
like a bull in a china shop.
Like I did. Yeah.
Like I did
bad.
too.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah,
but,
I forgot
I'm
about
coming
that.
up on my 1 year anniversary of throwing my back out.
That's crazy. It's almost been 1 year.
Yours was, well, that was, yeah, I think yours was in the summer.
Yeah, it was right before my daughter was born. I had a little tweak. And then right after she was born, it got really bad when after I slept in the hospital. And then I tried to do
the power hooks.
No, the power hooks is what happened before she was born. Then I took some time off.
No, the 45-degree thing.
No, so that was well over a year ago.
Ah, okay.
That was well over a year ago. Yeah. I was like holding it for like 60 seconds. And when I got up, I was like, oh, I couldn't walk for a few minutes. But then I was doing boxing, hurt my back doing boxing in like June or July. Then I took time off, started to feel much better, slept horribly when my daughter was born in the hospital, like just the most uncomfortable, horrible position ever.
You got any tips for that?
Dude, I wish I had tips. I literally saw like a comedy reel about it the other day. I have no tips. Actually, one of the funny things about the comedy reel is there was a guy who literally brought a blow-up mattress.
I've seen that.
But I don't know how that works practically because the doctors are all over the place. They're coming in every fucking couple minutes. They're doing, like you heard Andrew Schultz talk about what they do the whole time. Like they're coming in, they're just, it's super invasive. Like that, I wish I had known that, what Andrew Schultz spoke about in his recent comedy special. But like, there's
You're
no
talking
way.
Specifically about the giant Viking man?
Yes. Yep. It's, I haven't been in a room that's big enough to support a blow up mattress, even after the child is born. And then like they put you in a different room. At least that's what happened to us. Like it's not big enough. It's horrible. So then I slept on that horrible, like it's not even a mattress. I don't know what to call it, but it was terrible. And then my next workout, back blew out. And that was probably one of the worst back injuries I've ever had.
Man, not fun.
So I don't know what to tell you, bro, but I would be more worried about that than about anything related to being a father. Like that because that's going to really fuck you up.
I was telling you before that I haven't been sleeping well for weeks. And you said, are you stressed about
you're nervous.
Baby on the yeah. But I guess I'm getting prepared for that cot.
Are you going to bring anything?
I'm not bringing an air mattress to a hospital, man.
No, not an air mattress because that would be wild. But are you going to bring like pillows or something? Foam? You're bringing a foam roller, I bet.
I haven't thought that far ahead. Probably should.
Knowing you should bring a foam roller because you love foam rollers and like doing that thoracic extension. I would highly recommend you specifically. I wouldn't necessarily recommend other people, but just literally you landed from the airplane and you texted me, do you have a foam roller? Like you love foam rollers.
Yeah, there's certain things. Getting some extension through those like lower thoracic vertebrae. I like something to hang on to, get a little spinal decompression. These things keep the body moving and grooving, you know? All right, I'll bring a foam roller. I on the subject of all of that, I downloaded TikTok recently.
Okay.
My entire feed, and on the subject of like being nervous, my entire feed, compare this level of specificity to like politic outrage, like crazy far left and far right positions on Twitter, the nudity, all of that. I downloaded TikTok, did a little scrolling. I landed on this trend of girls writing poetry about how their dad screwed them up.
Oh, no.
No, it was amazing. I mean, it wasn't amazing. I'm sorry. It wasn't amazing. It was beneficial for me reading it from an educational
Did you learn anything?
Be around and pay attention and love the kid.
Is that what they all said? Like, my dad wasn't around?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of like, you were always working, or you left us, or you it was lack of love and attention from dad.
You know what I saw once? This was probably like 2 years ago now, but it's sort of, you and I were talking the other day, but like, you know, some parent, like, you could be great and your kid like could just go the complete opposite direction. My mom would always say, I don't take credit for anything good that you do. And I'd always be like, why? And she's like, because if you do anything bad, I am not taking credit for that. So like, I saw a video of I don't know, she was probably in high school, maybe college. I think she was in high school though. And she made a video complaining. She was like, oh, my parents. And it was not a parody. She was talking about how her parents, like if she's in a play, like a theater play, her parents will go to all of the shows because they want to see her in every show. And she's like, it's just so overbearing. Like they say they just want to support me, but it's like, I want to do it on my own. And all the comments were like, are you out of your, like, God forbid you have supportive parents who actually want to go see everything that you do. But like to the point of, it's probably better to be around, and you're probably going to have better results with that. But there is a chance that no matter what you do, they might resent you either way.
Yeah, there is a chance, but I mean, look, this is going to offend some people, but we've already done plenty of that this episode. Look at the average relationship between a woman who does porn and her dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really talk to any porn stars, but that would be an interesting data point to get.
I don't even think we need the data. Some things are self-evident, Jordan.
Yep.
Look, yes, you're right. A kid can come from a really rough situation and be incredible, and another kid can have amazing parents and, you know, screw it all up. But
it's better to be around and be present.
It's not just better. It's like,
yeah, of course,
the opposite of determinism.
Yeah. No, of course. I completely agree. I completely agree. That was just my first thought.
I wanted to get some feedback on your thoughts on the relationship between women who do porn and their relationship with their father. But you
want me to give you my feedback on women who do porn, and if I would imagine that their fathers are not in their life?
Yeah.
Or if their fathers were like abusive or something?
I mean, I wasn't taking it there, but
listen, we'll start with this. Porn isn't good, right? Like, for anyone involved, for the people who are starring in it, if we could call it starring in it, for people who are participating in it, for the people who are consuming it, it's not good. Period. It's not good as a society. It's you know, it's actually really interesting. The people who are the biggest supporters of porn, the people who are like who support it as like, hey, we should be allowing this, or it's not a bad thing. They're also often very anti-capitalism. Like they're very like, the capitalist culture is really, it's like, okay, but you're supporting this only because it's capitalist in nature, because it's a way for them to make money. So that's contradictory in and of itself. But I have a very hard time thinking that anyone logically can look at porn and say, this is good for us. This is good for the individual. It's good for the person who's doing it. It's good for the person who's watching it. It's good for the relationships. I don't think anyone logically can be like, this is a really good thing. That's number one. And by good, I really mean healthy in a variety of ways. From there, then it's like, okay, we can look at the people who are participating in it. Why did they get involved in this? Was it purely a money thing? But then if it's money, why is that the route they went and not trying to go down maybe a route that would require more education or less essentially using their body as a means of making money? And then the other discussion around it is if there was no market for it, it wouldn't exist. So if people would stop watching it, and predominantly dudes, if dudes would stop watching it, then the capitalist component wouldn't be there. So what the blame, is it the parents of the people who are doing it? Is it the people who are actually watching it? Is it the people who are starring in it? Is there? I don't even know if blame is the right game to play here, but I do think that it would be probably a very disappointing, discouraging, sad field of study to speak with all the people who make porn in their career and hear what happened to them growing up, what their relationships with their parents were like, what their relationships with family members were like, if they were abused, if they had absent parents, whatever it is. Because I would imagine you probably find a much higher rate of absentee parents, absentee fathers, absentee mothers, abusive siblings, abusive parents, abusive aunts and uncles, whatever it is. You'd probably find higher rates of that. I would imagine it would be probably a very sad place to be spending your time.
That was extremely articulate and quite comprehensive, and I really wasn't expecting that. Well done. I actually,
it's that Turkish coffee, bro.
I especially like your point about blaming dudes or blaming the consumer, which is primarily men, because without them, the market wouldn't exist. I think that's an underlooked and underdiscussed aspect of the entire conversation. There's also the amount of coercion, the amount of trafficking, the amount of underage girls that get uploaded to these sites. Like, a lot of people are doing really good work and research on that side of things who can speak on it better than we can, but it's really not a good, there's a lot of crime and a lot of people being severely mistreated, women being severely mistreated behind the scenes that we are supporting if we are watching it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But dude,
how do we get on that though? What were we talking about?
Can we give the TikTok algorithm a little bit of credit for the
we were talking about that, being a father of daughters.
I haven't had TikTok since before it got banned. I downloaded it. I just wanted to see what was going on there.
Yeah.
Within a matter of swipes, like, how well does my algorithm know me that it's feeding me poetry from girls who like had bad relationships with their dad? And I'm just, that's crazy on the algorithm.
It is. Yeah. The algorithm knows you, or knows your life circumstances very, very well. You know, we were talking about, you know, the nerves before having a child, and you were like, yeah, you know, just nervous about parenting, right? And from my very limited experience, I was like, the good news is, you don't do much parenting early on because it's just a little nugget, and it's just like you're just there and making sure that she's okay, and it's not like you're parenting. I was thinking about this while we were having that discussion. I actually think it's more difficult to be thrown into being a personal trainer than it is to being a mom. I think a mom is like the most difficult, especially because your child relies physically on the mom. But if I'm speaking about specifically like from a parenting perspective, not like what it takes to care for the child and keep them alive and the stress and all that, but specifically just the parenting versus the coaching. When you're a coach, you're just thrown in on day one. You're a coach. You're writing the program. You're telling them what to do. You're dealing with the psychology and like the games that they can play and their accountability and their consistency. Like, it's really difficult when you go into coaching on day one because you're dealing with all sorts of different people and all sorts of different life circumstances and how to speak to them and how to structure your sentences. And it's not just about coaching and cueing, which can also be difficult in and of itself, but it's the person to person conversation. Whereas parenting an infant, especially when you're not the one that's physiologically required to keep them alive.
Yeah.
It's much easier. It's much easier than coaching from that perspective. So it's a much more progressive. So you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. But yeah, your algorithm knows you very well. That's
good. It's good reassurance. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. For sure.
We got to wrap it. We got a mentorship Q&A here in 7 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week, every Tuesday, except the one between Christmas and New Year's.
Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week. Talk to you soon.